You know how kids get to a certain age and their parents have the talk with them to explain how babies are made? Why don't parents do that with finances?
How the do I know?
Seriously, it may sound completely crazy, but the reality is that financial literacy is a really big problem. And at the end of the day, if it's not done correctly, it can lead to crippling debt in the future, which is simply unfair. How can you expect people to be responsible if they've never been taught the basics?
Blood is gonna cover the floors and people kill each other for a PS4.
With that in mind, today my AI assistant Tiara and I are going to be your sex ed, scratch that.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
We're going to go over common financial mistakes to avoid so you don't put yourself in debt for years into the future. Hi Tiara, I'm a total beginner in managing money and I wanted to get your thoughts on common financial mistakes that I should avoid. What do you think those are?
I'd love to help. I have a lot of things on my list, but let's only focus on the top 5 biggest mistakes, as avoiding those can make the biggest impact. One of the most common financial mistakes people make is thinking they don't need a budget or financial plan. Many embark on their financial journey without a clear roadmap, which can lead to overspending and unnecessary financial stress. Despite its importance, budgeting can seem daunting and time-consuming.
Honestly, I get it. Budgeting is one of those things that's pretty annoying to do, and usually people only do it when they're actually having money problems. So yeah, I understand why you would want to avoid it.
My advice is to start simple. Begin by listing all your sources of income and your regular expenses, such as rent, groceries, utilities, and any subscriptions. There are plenty of budgeting apps available, like YNAB, otherwise known as You Need a Budget, that can make this process easier by automatically tracking your spending and helping you set financial goals. It's crucial to also set clear financial goals. Whether you're saving for a vacation, paying off debt, or building an emergency fund, having specific objectives can make budgeting more motivating. Remember, your budget isn't set in stone. Review it monthly to make adjustments as your financial situation changes.
I just want to point out that You Need a Budget was recommended here by Tiara, and that is 100% correct. I love that app, and I use it myself to keep track of my personal budget as well as my business budget to keep things much, much easier. Now, this video isn't sponsored by any brands or anything, but I will say, if you're interested in trying this budgeting app, if you could, go into the description here and click on that link. That'll lead you to a 34-day free trial, and hopefully it'll get me some attention from the brand. That all said, setting clear goals isn't something that you can overlook at this step in the process. Those goals can be so motivating, and even if it's something as simple as, eating out once a month, just knowing that you had the willpower to actually do that, it does make a big difference and means a lot. Now, not budgeting is a big mistake, but I think for some people, this next one might be an even bigger mistake that they're making.
A major financial pitfall is overspending and living beyond one's means. It's easy to swipe a credit card or tap a phone for purchases without fully realizing the impact on your bank account. To avoid overspending, make sure you have a budget. This can be eye-opening and help identify areas where you can cut back. Another good strategy is to differentiate between needs and wants. Before making a purchase, ask yourself if it's something you truly need or just something you want at the moment. This can help curb impulse buying.
I'm married, and this was a big problem when we first met. See, my wife now, she would basically buy stuff and it would just accumulate and we'd never even use it. Eventually, after I continually drilled this into her head, she did kind of change her ways. About 90% of the time, she really thinks before she purchases everything, but she still does have a splurge once in a while, which is a lot better than what it used to be.
The last thing I'll say about avoiding overspending is you can consider adopting the 50-30-20 rule as a guideline for spending. Allocate 50% of your income to necessities, 30% to discretionary expenses, and 20% to savings. This simple rule can help you maintain a balanced approach to spending and saving.
Now, I've personally never used this method, but I can understand for those that are really kind of in the beginning and they're trying to make sure that they don't overspend, how this would be really useful. The next mistake could very well be the biggest problem in the United States for all Americans, and that's because it has resulted in $1.1 trillion in debt.
Misusing credit cards is a common financial mistake that can quickly lead to high-interest debt that can be hard to dig out of. Credit cards are convenient and can offer rewards, but they also come with the risk of accumulating debt if not managed carefully. Many people fall into the trap of only making minimum payments, which can result in paying much more in interest over time. To avoid this pitfall, it's essential to use credit cards wisely. First, try to pay off your balance in full each month to avoid interest charges. If that's not possible, aim to pay more than the minimum to reduce your debt more quickly.
Now, I've been blessed in my life in that I have never had to use a credit card to just pay for the simple essentials of life. Now, sure, there have been tough times, but overall, I've been really diligent about making sure that my expenses in a given month never exceed my income. And one thing I've always stood by before I ever read anything from experts is that anytime I'm using a credit card, I make sure that in that month, I can pay that credit amount off in full and not carry a balance from month to month. Heck, I did this when I had a job at $30,000 a year, and I do it now when I make much more. I always looked at credit cards as a tool mostly to just collect the points or the cash back, whatever you prefer, and to try my best to take advantage of credit card companies. I want those companies to absolutely hate me. That's the goal. So I do my best to make that happen.
Also, be mindful of your credit utilization ratio, which is the amount of credit you're using compared to your total credit limit. Keeping this ratio low, ideally below 30%, can positively impact your credit score.
Now, this is definitely a good piece of advice. And every single month, if I'm spending and I have, large expenses, I always make sure that I don't go over 30%, even if I plan on paying that off at the end of the month. So yes, under 30% utilization is ideal, and you should always try to stick to that, because if you do, it'll help build up your credit and make it so that you can eventually expand your credit, ask for more credit, and you'll be able to make bigger purchases in the future without a problem. Next, TR wanted to point out something that I've actually made an entire dedicated video about before. So obviously I thought it was worth going over.
Failing to build an emergency fund is a common financial oversight that can leave you vulnerable to unexpected expenses. An emergency fund acts as a financial safety net, providing peace of mind and security when life throws unexpected challenges your way, such as medical emergencies, car repairs, or sudden job loss. To avoid this mistake, it's important to start building your emergency fund as soon as possible. Aim to save at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. This might sound daunting, but you can start small and gradually increase your savings over time.
Having a proper emergency fund is absolutely crucial. And I found some data that indicated that the Gen Zers out there, 17% of Gen Z folks have over $5,000 in a bank account for an emergency fund. So if that's you, good job, you're doing things right. But frankly, 17% is a pretty low number. And a study by Bankrate found that 27% of Americans have absolutely no savings at all. But the point is, having an emergency fund is absolutely crucial. And there's a lot more to it. So if you're at all interested in that, just wait at the end of the video here. I will actually link to that emergency fund video, which can help you even if you don't have extra money right now. That said, the next financial mistake is something that is much more important than most people give it credit for.
Ignoring the importance of building a good credit score is a financial misstep that can have long-term consequences. Your credit score is a key factor in determining your eligibility for loans, credit cards, and even rental agreements. A poor credit score can lead to higher interest rates, costing you more money over time. To avoid this mistake, it's crucial to understand what affects your credit score and take proactive steps to improve it. Your payment history is one of the most significant factors, so always pay your bills on time. Setting up automatic payments or reminders can help ensure you never miss a due date.
This is why you need to keep track of your income and your expenses and understand where all of your money is going every single month. While setting up automatic payments is a good idea, you need to know what bills are due every single month, because the reality is, if you're late 1 month on one bill, it can ding your credit and you'll have problems with that for years.
I declare bankruptcy!
Additionally, avoid opening too many new credit accounts in a short period, as this can negatively affect your score. Instead, focus on maintaining long-standing accounts with a good payment history.
Every time you open your credit card, it's likely that your credit score is going to go down just a little bit. Plus, if you have multiple cards, sometimes it can get a little bit complicated and you may forget when specific payments are actually due. And the truth is, there is a ton of benefits of having good credit, including better loan interest rates, more loan and credit approvals, higher credit limits, both rental and employment opportunities, and much more. Now, I'll make a video more about this in the future, but just realize that your credit score is a good way to show companies and places where you're buying things that you are a responsible adult. So definitely take it seriously. That all said, remember earlier when I explained that I had already created a video about building up an emergency fund even if you didn't have a lot of money? Well, you can go ahead and click on that video right here, or if you're not interested in that, you can click over here to understand how to create a budget that actually works. As a reminder, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, and as always, make sure that you subscribe to unlock financial success one AI chat at a time. Thanks for watching.